Hey, what's up? My name is Matt. I'm a 36-year-old videographer and I've stuttered my whole life. I'm making this video because recently, in the last few years, I had a series of realizations about stuttering that I want to share. These realizations have helped me be kinder to myself, have less shame about my stutter, and have more self-esteem. This video is for those who stutter, who know someone who stutters, and those who are just curious about stuttering. First, I want to clarify that I'm talking about childhood onset fluency disorder, the most common type of stuttering, which is what I have. It's the communication disorder commonly known as developmental stuttering or stuttering. It is defined as a disturbance in the flow and timing of speech that is inappropriate for an individual's age and is commonly cited as existing in around 1% of the population worldwide. There are other types of stuttering, like neurogenic, which is caused by a stroke. Stuttering is genetic and is associated with abnormalities in brain structure, so there is a neurological component. I'm not going to go into the research, but perhaps that's a topic for another video. Okay, so what most people don't realize, and what I only recently came to appreciate, is that stuttering is a disability. Now, some of you will say, well, yeah, of course it is. But to lots of people, including myself, I don't think it's so straightforward or obvious. Let me explain. When you type disability into Google, this definition comes up: a physical or mental condition that limits a person's movements, senses, or activities. This is just one definition. Within the stuttering community, there seems to be a general consensus that stuttering is a disability, but an official designation seems limited to certain settings. Children who stutter can qualify for an individual education program, IEP, a plan developed by teachers, specialists, parents, and therapists that outlines a disabled child's needs and goals and the accommodations needed to meet them within the school, such as speech therapy. Adults who stutter can qualify for workplace accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA defines disability as a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. These accommodations can include flexible communication methods, inclusive meeting practices, and alternative meeting participation. To receive these accommodations, stuttering must be shown to significantly impact the student's ability to learn and make progress in school, and to be proven to substantially limit one's ability to communicate and perform job duties. While getting stuttering designated as a disability is by no means guaranteed, it does present a straightforward path to receiving accommodations. But outside of school and work, how much awareness is there around stuttering? To the general public, what is stuttering? One of the most challenging aspects of stuttering is the anxiety from not knowing how it will be received, which is in part dependent on a person's exposure to it. I think it's likely that most people have a basic understanding of stuttering only from what they've seen in movies and television or on the news, rather than from actually knowing someone or interacting with someone who stutters, which is rare. So, what is the messaging around stuttering? The rare mention of stuttering in the news tends to be the overcoming narrative. I can think of only two celebrities who talk about stuttering occasionally: Emily Blunt and Joe Biden. For the most part, they describe stuttering as a past hardship, a traumatic experience that they had to overcome. This is a genuine narrative, but it is only one narrative. The story of the adult who stutters regularly, who feels the stigma of stuttering with shame and embarrassment and high anxiety, who must navigate speech every day with a stutter, does not come up. In movies and television, portrayals of stuttering further contribute to an incomplete picture. Stuttering is exaggerated for comedic effect. A character's stutter is often their most or only important attribute in how they are placed within the plot. Characters who stutter are often placed within the story to serve the portrayal of other characters as either the bully or the defender of the outcast. And if they are shy, nervous, weak, or uncertain, the implication is made that stuttering is the cause. A few examples are The King's Speech, A Fish Called Wanda, My Cousin Vinny, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, among others. Outside of the rare and mostly incomplete narratives in the media, another thing that contributes to an incomplete picture is the fact that stuttering, the disorder, has the same name as stuttering, the occasional gaffe. What we have doesn't have its own name to differentiate itself. Stuttering as an actual condition is eclipsed by the undesirable thing most people do from time to time. People mispronounce words or stumble over a syllable, and often they will apologize for it. You've heard it before. After a tiny slip up, people will say things like, "Oh, I swear I can talk," or "Wow, I'm out of it today," or "Bleh," as if they just swallowed a bug. So the general population seems bothered by stuttering when they do it. But how do people know what to do when they encounter someone who stutters? There are certain accommodations that help make conversations feel more accessible. I'm not talking about the kind of accommodations that one can receive at a job or in school. I'm talking about accommodation in kind of the unofficial sense. The actual definition of accommodation is the process of adapting or adjusting to someone or something. To use another word, acclimate, the process or result of becoming accustomed to a new climate or to new conditions. Because conversation is a participatory exchange between people, and stuttering deviates from societal norms, it asks its listeners to acclimate to a different conversational rhythm, to have more patience in listening through someone's stutter, and to resist the urge to fill in the gaps or interrupt in order to return the conversation to a flow that they are familiar with. Are these accommodations obvious? To some, maybe. I can picture in my head all the reactions I've gotten from people when I stutter. Looks of confusion or uncertainty, averted eye contact, the shifting of weight, and I can hear all the sentences hanging in the balance momentarily while I navigate my stutter that have been finished for me by those who are either impatient or unaware or both. I do realize that many of these reactions are involuntary. Most people are conditioned to expect fluency because stuttering is so rare. Because the concept of verbal diversity isn't widely known, and because stuttering is generally something people try to avoid. So, with incomplete narratives, a lack of representation in the media, and a fairly common natural aversion to stuttering, where does that leave stuttering? It seems to occupy a diagnostic gray area, somewhere between disability and gaffe. One reason why I think it's not more widely considered a disability is that from the outside, in many cases, it doesn't seem permanently or substantially debilitating enough. Stuttering is persistent, but it is not consistent. My stutter hasn't changed much over the years, but it comes and goes daily. I can even achieve fluency for somewhat long periods of time, given the right circumstances and the right words, making it seem like I have no impairment. This is called covert stuttering. My whole life, I thought it was my responsibility to hide my stutter, because at times I could, and because I didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable or awkward. I felt like I should. I had never considered that there was any other way to think about my stutter until I came across a line in the book Stammering, Pride and Prejudice. Difference, not defect. The authors are British, so they use the word stammer instead of stutter. Quote, whether people who stammer consider themselves disabled or not does not stop them from being disabled by society. As long as society views stammered speech as inferior, they will be disabled by societal norms. I had never considered society's role in shaping how I felt about my stutter. Here was a different way of thinking about it, which as I looked into it, has a name: the social model of disability. According to the American Psychological Association, through the social model, disability is seen as one aspect of a person's identity, much like race or ethnicity or gender, etc. From this perspective, disability is believed to result from a mismatch between the disabled person and their environment, both physical and social. It is this environment that creates the handicaps and barriers, not the disability. From this perspective, the way to address disability is to change the environment and society, rather than people with disabilities. Negative stereotypes, discrimination, and oppression serve as barriers to environmental change and full inclusion. End quote. So, disability equals impairment plus context. Using this framework, it becomes clear that stuttering can be considered a disability. It doesn't matter how bad your stutter is, as long as conversations feel inaccessible and are inaccessible due to a mismatch between our vocal abilities and the social environment we are in, it is a disability. Once I learned about the social model, I quickly learned that the way I had been thinking about my stutter all this time was through what's called the medical model. The medical model views disability as an individual medical problem caused by a physical or mental condition that needs to be fixed. It is the most common lens through which to assess disability because it aligns with the traditional view of illness and impairment as individual conditions requiring medical intervention. So, to begin to sum things up, why is it important to frame stuttering as a disability? The reason is to proclaim that conversations sometimes feel inaccessible and to identify the accommodations that others can make to help us feel welcome. The medical model isn't wrong, per se. I do have a neurological condition that has a distinct effect on me. But the social model shrewdly points out that societal stigma also affects me. With more accurate representations of stuttering, I am confident that general awareness and acceptance will improve. But it's going to take more than that it's going to take more than that to decrease stigma. We who stutter must stutter openly. The more we try to hide it, the less people will understand it. In Emily Ladau's book, Demystifying Disability, she writes, "If the disability community wants a world that's accessible to us, then we must make ideas and experiences of disability accessible to the world. So, in order for society to understand stuttering, we, the stuttering community, must talk about it." Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you later. Gosh. You tired of listening to me stutter on the word stutter?